Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to rank every companion in the Mario RPGs. For clarification, I'm defining a companion as any character that follows Mario around for a substantial portion of the game, as well as having a tattle function that allows the player to learn more about the world, enemies, and gameplay mechanics. I would, however, like to point out some abnormalities with this list. Superstar Saga has no companions. The closest there is Peasley, and he's more of a rival character anyway, something that the series would abandon after Partners in Time. Additionally, Paper Mario 64 will have 2 entries for reasons that will be explained later. I'm going to rank these characters based on 4 factors: character design, story relevance, gameplay functionality, and personality. With all that being said, I really hope you enjoy. Now, on to the ranking. And to nobody's surprise, number 10. Really, what is there to like about Starlo? Let's start simple. Her character design is incredibly boring and simplistic, just a less inspired redesign of Twink. And just like how her design was lifted from Paper Mario 64, her personality is just a clone of Goombella, without any of the charm or endearing sarcasm. That's Starlo's first problem. Nothing about her character is unique, it's all just recycled elements clumsily stitched together to try and make a rounder companion than Stuffwell from their previous game. Stuffwell was criticized for being too flat and bland of a character compared to Paper Mario's best partners. So instead of creating their own unique complementary companion, Alpha Dream just modeled their own off of what they thought was popular at the time. Worse still, Starlo isn't even a good clone of Goombella. She's unnecessarily antagonistic to literally everyone she meets, especially Luigi. Her hostile demeanor is entirely unmotivated too. She just can't go more than 10 minutes without dissing Luigi for acting cowardly, even though she herself has no abilities and contributes absolutely nothing to the plot. Speaking of which, Starlo, despite being reused in 3 games, has no importance to the plot of any of her games that she's featured in. She has no personal stake in Boffle's plan to activate the Dark Star, she got involved with Phantasma and the Dreamstone by pure coincidence, and she just happened to be in Peach's castle when Luigi discovered the Paper Mario book. Now, in case you are wondering why her not having any personal stake in any of the games she appears in is a problem, when other characters, most notably Goombella and Goombario, are held in very high esteem even though they aren't directly involved in their game story, it's because unlike Goombella, Starlo is reused in 3 games. She was already a recycled character, and she is somehow the only companion that gets to be reused? Why? Just why? It's also worth saying that she barely has any gameplay use besides being a basic guide character. The only time she has a real use in gameplay is to assault Luigi's face while he's asleep and protect the bros from one AoE attack in Bowser's Inside Story. Overall, Starlo is just an annoying Goombella template character who is used long past her expiration date in favor of creating actually good, unique characters. If Mario and Luigi 6 ever happens, I pray they never bring this waste of creativity back. And if one annoying, spiteful companion that is overly hostile for no reason wasn't enough for you, Kirsty's personality is somehow even worse than Starlo. It's almost as if the Paper Mario devs aspired to make a worse clone of a character that was herself a worse clone of one of their own characters. Kirsty is even more hostile and aggressive towards Mario than even Starlo was. And just like Starlo, she never has any growth or character arc to speak of. The reason that Kirsty still ranks ahead of last place is because she does have a somewhat unique character design, even if it is just a silver sticker crown with eyes. Also, unlike Starlo, Kirsty is at least tangentially related on some level to the plot of Sticker Star, if you could call it that. Now, Kirsty is a wish-granting deity, there to fulfill the desires of all those at the Sticker Festival who wished upon the Sticker Comet. Now, unfortunately, she has no connection to Bowser, or is planning to steal the Sticker Comet, so in that aspect, her role as a companion character kind of falls flat, as she has no attachment to the main conflict of the story. So, that really limits the presence that she can have in it. Now, her sacrifice at the end of the game, like all sacrifices in these series before Bobby and Olivia, is meaningless, because Mario just wishes for her to come back at the end with the Sticker Comet, completely undoing what little character arc she might have had. But hey, it's still more character than Starlo ever got, and when was the last time that Starlo ever willingly put herself into harm's way to save anyone? Kirsty's gameplay applications are miles above that stupid yellow orb. She allows Mario to use the battle spinner and the vaporize technique. Well, okay, these mechanics suck, I know, but it's at least something unique. And in the end, good companion characters are defined by their uniqueness. Overall, Kirsty is a bad character, and a poor excuse for bad mechanics in a bad game. But I do give credit where credit is due, and some creative ideas keep this clone of a clone from last place, if not by much. I do my best to say something of significance about every character on this list, but really, what is there to say about Stuffwell? He's an extremely boring character that brings nothing of value to the story that doesn't need him at all. Go on, I challenge you to think of a single time that Stuffwell was entirely necessary to any scene in this game. In terms of gameplay, he acts as the menu and the inventory for this game. And in that regard, he's no better than the suitcase that Toadsworth gave the bros in the last game. He doesn't even look unique. He's just a suitcase. Now, let's see what else he accomplishes in this game. He cushions the baby's fall in Bowser's castle. Suppose that's better than actively attacking Luigi in his sleep. What else? He connects to one of the Shroob's UFOs to facilitate one of the worst controlling mini-games I've ever played. I gotta be honest, I have nothing else. This is such a nothing character. Not even a bad character, just an empty one. Also, am I the only one who completely missed the joke that the devs were going for? Stuffwell is meant to be this genius AI developed by EGAD, but he keeps speaking in made-up words and bad expressions. He's the only character on this list that I don't even understand the character archetype that was being attempted. If any of you have any ideas, please leave a comment down below. Now, Stuffwell might be the companion that is most disconnected from the plot of any of these games. He has absolutely nothing to do with the Shroob invasion, and none of the Shroobs even acknowledge his presence. He doesn't even have any of the unique battle techniques that Starlo and Kirsty had, making him perhaps the most useless of all companions. The only reason he is as high as he is because he isn't annoying like the former two. A perfectly inoffensive character. Nothing more, nothing less. Okay, sorry for being so negative. Our next entry is the start of the characters on this list that I actually do like. And who better to start than the most likable of them all? That's right, it's Huey, the paint can from Color Splash. Now, before we start with the positives, let's get some issues out of the way real quick. His design is just that of a normal paint can. Now, I'm not saying he can't be a paint can, but surely they could have given him at least one unique element to his design. Also, Huey unfortunately suffers from the lore of Color Splash being extremely vague. What are the paint stars? Why was Huey created to guard them? What is the value of paint to the denizens of Port Prisma? None of these questions are addressed in the game, and it renders most of Huey's role in it vague and confusing. Huey's personality, though. Oh, finally, we have something to go off of. He's a chill bro, who could definitely grab a burger with at any time. He has a bit of the sarcasm left over from his Goombella Origins template, but I would argue it's used in its most tasteful manner here. He's incredibly funny, but also laid back and friendly. And honestly, what else could you ask for out of your companion in an RPG? His role in Color Splash's gameplay is also much more substantial than his predecessor. He lets Mario use the cutout technique to solve puzzles, and introduces the entire paint system to the game, which, unlike Sticker Star, are actually not terrible mechanics that do somewhat diversify the experience. Huey is a great friend, and serviceable enough companion. And I believe that had his story been more fleshed out and explored, he would have easily cracked the top 5 of this list. Now, in the online Paper Mario circles, Goombario might be the least talked about companion in this entire franchise. It's not that he's bad. No, far from it. It's just that all of the other companions bring out some sort of emotion, whether that be joy, compassion, misery, devastation, or even anger in Kirsty's case. Goombario, however, made me feel absolutely nothing. His grand and unique character is he's a fan of Mario. And that's it. Oh wait, were you expecting more? No, his entire story role is that he's a fan of Mario. That's it. You serious? Half the characters in this franchise are fans of Mario. Goombella is a fan of Mario. It doesn't count as an original character trait. Does he have a unique design? Is a blue hat. Suppose that's better than nothing. But really, the best way I can describe Goombario is forgettable. He's a fine character, but he has so little going for him in terms of story and aesthetics. However, where Goombario shines above the rest is with his gameplay. Unlike the previously mentioned companions, Goombario can actually fight, and his moves are extremely useful throughout the game. For one, he is the first partner that you unlock, so for the first 2 chapters of the game, he is indispensable. This is important, as some partners in this game are unlocked so late that they are already obsolete. For instance, Blackolice. He might have been useful had he been unlocked in Chapter 2, but by Chapter 6 you have no need of him anymore, since you have better partners that can do the same amount of damage for less FP. Back to Goombario though. Head bonk is alright for the early game. It's nothing amazing, but it's one of the better 0 FP moves in this game. Tattle is invaluable throughout the entire experience. It might be the single most useful move in the entire game. Not only can you see your enemy's health bars, but you can also have their attacks, defense, and even their principal weakness. Multi-bonk is an excellent attack in the later game. It takes some time to unlock, for sure, but especially when coupled with charge, it does so much damage to bosses. Speaking of charge, it's only really useful to be paired with multi-bonk, as before that, the amount of time that you spent charging him could have just been spent head-bonking normally to do the same amount of damage. After you unlock multi-bonk though, charge destroys bosses, and it's not really that hard to land consistently either. Also, unlike other entries thus far, Goombario actually has a field tattle mechanic that allows the player to learn more about any area or character in this game. It's not really that useful, but it does provide interesting insight into the world as a whole. Goombario is a good character. He has good attacks, and never becomes obsolete throughout the entire game, but his bland character design and story role really dragged him down. If only there was another Goomba tattling companion that could do all of this just as well, if not better. Goombella is the quintessential Paper Mario companion. Not the best, but the best example of one. She has a great character design, her archaeological uniform is an excellent fit for the treasure hunt that is the Thousand-Year Door. Before playing this game, I didn't think that Goombas could have really had unique outfits, since it doesn't really mesh well with their proportions. In spite of this, the devs managed to design a thematically appropriate outfit, simple enough to fit a Goomba, but still visually distinctive and recognizable. See, Goombario, you could have done more than just a hat. And speaking of being better than Goombario, we have Goombella's character and personality. She's an energetic and lively Goomba girl with a passion for archaeology and adventuring. She can be aggressive, and even violent when she needs to be. But that's the key phrase, when she needs to be. As in not all the time. And that's a big problem with the other characters that copied her. Starlo and Kirsty are needlessly aggressive all the time to everyone, and it gets annoying fast. Goombella, though, only gets aggressive when the situation demands it, such as when Lord Crump tries to kidnap her and torture her for information about the Crystal Stars, or when she's confronted with the cat-calling Goombas in the sewers. And, on the subject, Nintendo, why did you censor that scene? It was both funny and a good character building moment for Goombella, who, like most prologue partners, loses importance as the game goes on. All the same, my point is that Goombella, despite having her moments of aggression, was still kind and friendly most of the time. And it's that reserved aggression that Starlo and Kirsty so thoroughly lack, making them poor imitations of the template that they copied. Now, onto Goombella's gameplay. She has the exact same attacks and field tattling abilities as Goombario, with 2 major differences. For one, Charge is now replaced by Rally Wing, which is a far better and more useful ability. It allows Mario to get an extra turn, which can be very useful if you want to attack and use a special move in the same turn. There are so many combinations of strategies that you can use Rally Wink for, making it an excellent addition to Goombella's moveset. She also has a hint system that can be accessed with ZL in the remake. This is one of the many Origami King features that made its way into this game. The hint system is very useful for new players, as sometimes the objective in this game can be a bit confusing. And if you don't need it, it can easily be ignored. Goombella is an excellent companion. She laid the groundwork for what an RPG companion should be for the next decade and a half. The only thing holding her back from being higher is her story relevance, as she has very little besides wanting to find the crystal stars. Given that Vivian already has ties to the Shadow Queen, it could be interesting if one of the other partners had ties to the X-Nauts, since as of now the X-Nauts have no relation to any characters in this game. They just exist to drive the plot forward. But there is one more companion from the original Paper Mario trilogy that managed to be not only tied, but critically linked with the plot and villain of her story. Tippi, or should I say Lady Timpani, is a character that I'm torn on, to say the least. On one hand, her story is excellent. Count Bleck was once part of a race of gods. He was a noble of the society known as Lord Blumiere. Tippi, who went by Timpani at the time, was Blumiere's girlfriend. However, since she was a human of non-royal descent, Blumiere's father feared that her marriage to his son would dilute the bloodline. Given these prospects, he cursed her to walk the voids in between the worlds until the day that she died. Blumiere, furious, murdered his entire civilization and searched frantically for his lost love. Failing to find her everywhere he tried, he used the Dark Prognosticus and the Chaos Heart to destroy all worlds forever. If he could not be loved, then no one could. Unbeknownst to him, though, Lady Timpani was still alive. She had landed in Flipside, but was so badly wounded that Merlin had to turn her into a butterfly. I don't know why that allowed her to survive, but it did anyway. The main issue with Tippi's backstory is that even though it's great, her character development in the actual game is very minimal, as she has amnesia for most of it. She does get some good moments with Count Bleck at the end, but for the most part, this is too little too late. Also, the ending cutscene reveals that Tippi is fine in the end, living happily with Blumiere, so this also does not count as a real sacrifice. I have my problems with the story of Super Paper Mario. Many problems. But almost all of them are related to Count Bleck, the Dementio, and the Pure Hearts. Timpani was always one of the characters that I thought was excellent. Most of her problems lie in the other categories that we're going to get to now. Her design is just a slightly stylized RGB butterfly. Now, this comes back to my original complaint about Super Paper Mario's art style as a whole. I don't like it. I'm sorry for whoever thought that the P in Paper Mario stood for pixelated. No one asked for playable Microsoft Paint. Nothing about this game even looks like paper. Wait a second. Microsoft Paint. MP. Paper Mario is PM. Is this just some kind of wordplay joke? Either way, Tippi, like I said, is just a butterfly drawn in Microsoft Paint, which looks fine. It's better than being a paint can, but that's about all I can say. Her personality, though, is very good. She's a brave and loyal friend who, unlike her contemporaries, is reserved and methodical. She doesn't have the Goombella template aggression. Instead, she observes her battles from a distance and plans strategically and decisively. This is one of the more understated personality archetypes, as it's less flamboyant and easy to pick up on. I would argue that this causes the character interactions to suffer a bit, as Mario doesn't talk and the pixels talk only slightly. So Tippi has no one to play off of in terms of personality, but I would argue that this problem is more in relation to the game as a whole and not with Tippi in particular. Her field tattle mechanic is consistent with her two predecessors, as well as her battle tattle mechanic, which is now reserved for real-time battles given the different nature of the battle system in Super Paper Mario. She can also see invisible objects that can be revealed by pointing the Wii remote. Now, this is a fine mechanic that helps Tippi have a consistent moment-to-moment role in the gameplay. I just wish that this mechanic was a little bit more intuitive and didn't require motion controls. Having a flashy backstory is cool, and part of what makes characters like Tippi so memorable. But heroism, bravado, and valor can come from anyone, even from those who you least expect. Twink is a shockingly great character. Let's just get the only problems out of the way first. His design is very simplistic and unmemorable. He's just a yellow star. But everything else, though, I don't think anybody expected it to be this good. His personality is perfectly adapted to be Peach's companion. He's youthful, optimistic, and full of naive energy. He is immensely likable and is a great friend to Peach, aiding her in getting her messages out to Mario about the location of the captured star spirits. His story role is also indispensable. Without him to relay messages back to Mario, he would have never succeeded at rescuing all the star spirits. The top 3 companions on this list all have one thing in common. They are completely indispensable to their game's story. Twink has a greater purpose, however, than simply being a messenger for Peach. In the final battle, he confronts Kammy Koopa, and still manages to defeat her with the help of Peach. This moment of character development, a shy but determined star spirit considered too weak to have any magical powers, but by the skin of his teeth manages to avoid capture and defeat Bowser's right hand in a brawl, appears out of place in this game where the character arcs are very one-note. Twink is the best example of the underdog in this franchise, one who was destined for nothing but climbed his way to greatness anyway. Olivia is the best Paper Mario companion, and it's not even really all that close. She's warm, friendly, kind, and even hilarious at times. She's naive, but never to an annoying degree, and loves hot springs more than anything else in the world. She has the most unique and most lifelike personality of any character on this list. And finally, after 4 games, we get a character design that matches Goombella in quality. They gave her a yellow dress, white gloves, and brown leggings, and somehow still managed to make it all work in Origami, and still give her a chibi design reminiscent of the classic Paper Mario companions. Not only does Olivia have a fantastic design and lovable personality, but she's also the most involved in the plot of the Origami King. She was folded to life by her brother Ollie, who wanted to create her in his image, to have someone to rule over the paper world with, after he spurned the Toad race for defying his body. Olivia, being the gentle and compassionate being that she is, refused to help her brother take over the world and subjugate its people. Angered by this, Ollie trapped her in a wall in Peach's castle until she came to her senses, and used the Legion of Stationery that he had brought to life in the same manner as Olivia to torture and brainwash Bowser's minions into serving him. Olivia, after escaping with the help of Mario, vows to stop her brother from his evil machinations by any means necessary. During their adventure, Ollie, after one more unsuccessful attempt to convince her to join him, mercilessly crushes his sister to death with a boulder. Mario and Bobby, their new adventuring partner that they met in the last chapter, go on an adventure to recover Bobby's lost fuse. After an intense battle with a giant blooper, they emerge victorious, and Bobby, understanding his purpose as a disposable war machine meant to die and make an impact while doing it, blows himself up to save Olivia. She is heartbroken by this and retreats to a nearby cave, unable to live with herself knowing that her friend died to save her. Her insistence to bring him along led to his death. But after Mario makes her laugh again with the paper macho mask from earlier, she realizes that she must go on so that Bobby's death meant something. Bobby is dead. Nothing can change that now. But Olivia now feels even more obligated to stop her brother so that Bobby would not have died in vain. Finally, after Mario trounces the stapler, the last of the Legion of Stationery, Olivia is beside herself with uncertainty. She again feels conflicted. She thought that she could reason with Ollie, but now she believes that he is too far gone to even listen to her pleas. But she gets a pep talk from Bowser of all people, who tells her that nothing is more difficult than parenting his son, so dealing with her brother will be simple, elementary even. This gives her the motivations she needs, and during the fight against the Origami King himself, Olivia is of greater importance than any other character on this list. Not only can she turn into the elementals for Phase 1, not only does she fold Bowser into a giant origami sumo wrestler, but in the final phase she uses the final magic circle to become the ultimate hammer to triumph over Ollie's tyranny once and for all. At the end of the game, Ollie apologizes for all the destruction he caused over such a minor inconvenience, and asks Olivia to fold his corpse into the last of the 1,000 cranes to make a wish. After folding her crane, she wishes for all of the origami folded by her brother to be undone. This does restore the castle to normal, but also deletes her from existence, as she was folded by her brother. This sacrifice, along with Bobby's, actually has significance, as it is permanent. There is no going back from it. Olivia does not come back to life like a certain other sticker crown. Something that I touched on only briefly in this segment was Olivia's gameplay. Now, admittedly, it could be better, but what we have is still great. She can turn into the Vellumentals and allows Mario to use the thousandfold arms. This allows Mario to manipulate the world in order to solve puzzles, which is used in some very creative ways in the later game. This was the game that introduced the hint system that could be accessed with X, which again is great for new players. But by far, the best thing she can do is stop time in battles. If a ring puzzle is taking you too long, just press X and Olivia will stop time for you, making her far and away the most useful partner in any Paper Mario game, as she can essentially bypass the time limit. In the end, it may seem as though Olivia is the best companion. She has so much going for her in every category, and granted, she is very close to number 1. I just think that there is one more who expanded on the gameplay and lore of his series to a degree never seen before or since. Finally, we arrive at number 1. The best companion in the Mario RPGs is Prince Dreambert. Before we get into the story of Dream Team, can we take a step back and admire the effort that Alpha Dream put into this character? They designed an entirely new race and gave them their own lore and homeland, gave them an interesting and mysterious villain, and they did all of this twice! Dreambert has, by far, the most unique character design on this list. He's one of the Pilos, a race of sentient pillows that inhabits Pilo Island. His outfit is orange with white and gold motifs, and a matching cape, which allows him to stand out from his Pilo brethren. In terms of personality, he accomplishes the best of both worlds. He has both the methodical seriousness of Tippi, but also the, albeit rarely seen, aggressive outbursts of the Goombella template characters. The reason why he works and Starlo doesn't is that Dreambert only gets aggressive when he needs to be, just like Goombella. And that's what makes him a dynamic and likable character. Although I don't like Starlo in general, I will admit that she is at her best in this game when she has to play off of Dreambert. Their personality clash is admittedly responsible for some of the better scenes in this game. But back to Dreambert though. Remember what I said that Tippi's story presence would be even better if she had a present motivation instead of just an excellent backstory? Well, look no further than Dreambert to find exactly that. He was the prince of the ancient Pilo Kingdom. Their people guarded 2 stones. The Dream Stone, formed of happy dreams, and the Dark Stone, an object of malice festering with nightmares. One day, the Bat King and Tasma tried to steal the Dark Stone, but after a long and difficult battle, Dreambert managed to imprison him in the Dream World. And Tasma, before being sealed away, crushed the Dark Stone, raining nightmare trunks down over the peaceful world. The Pilos were trapped inside their worst nightmare for centuries, a fate worse than death itself. In the present day, Dreambert is saved from imprisonment in the Dream World by Mario, who he joins on a quest to save his people from their fate that he could not protect them from before. And Tasma, however, still spiteful about his defeat, manages to escape the Dream World with the help of Bowser. The two of them use the Dreamstone to spawn Neo Bowser Castle in order to conquer the world. Bowser, after being confronted by the Mario Brothers, Starlo, and Dreambert, betrays his former accomplice, stealing the Dreamstone for himself. It is at this moment that Tasma and Dreambert gear up for one final battle. Tasma has lost everything, but he has remained bitter and spiteful over the centuries that he was in prison. He will not let Dreambert destroy him without a fight. A back-and-forth clash ensues, until Tasma decides to finish off his old foe in the Dream World. Tasma has grown too powerful in the Dream World for even Dreambert to handle, so Mario jumps in to take on the Bat King for himself. Dreambert, unlike Starlo though, is not content to simply sit around and let Mario do all the work. No, unlike certain companions in this game, he will actually heal Mario for 30 HP every turn. No matter what role he takes, Dreambert will be a part of Tasma's final defeat. He owes it to all of his people. Ultimately, Tasma is defeated for good, and the heroes prepare for the true final battle. And that is Dreambert's story. Truly a paramount example of how a backstory can enhance a character instead of just replacing it. Dreambert is everything you could want out of a leader. He's wise, noble, valiant, and willing to protect those he loves at any cost. If all of that were all there is, he would probably still be number 2. Still an excellent companion, but not quite as good as Olivia. But there's one more thing we missed. What does Dreambert bring to the gameplay? Well, half the game in fact. Yes, the entire half of the game, that being the Dream World, is not possible at all without Dreambert. Dreambert introduces the dream world, and it is because of him that half of the game even exists. I could go on and on, the Legionary works, the giant battles, the Legionary attacks, the entire dream world battle system. None of it happens without Dreambert and his story, which in my eyes easily makes him the best companion in the history of the Mario RPGs. Thank you everyone for watching. Please like and subscribe for more rankings and analyses like this one. And if you have any requests or remarks, feel free to comment down below. See you all next time.